Everybody, it's Member of Parliament Bob Zimmer here up at Bojo & Vaughan's auction mart with Connie Patterson and John Barlow. John agreed to come up just to hear some of the concerns around agriculture and the peace and the north and south peace. John, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, Bob, thanks very much for having me. It's critically important that we get around the country in different ridings and talk to our producers and processors and find out what's really going on the ground with Canadian agriculture.
Right on. Connie Patterson, stranger to none out there, instrumental in the exhibition in Dawson Creek and really the cattle industry here in Dawson Creek and really in the peace. Connie, what did we hear? We talked to some young cattle ranchers this morning, amongst others. What did we hear? What are some of the concerns out there?
So one of the biggest ones for us right now is that when we actually have to haul a liner load of steers out of Fort St. John or Dawson Creek, we can't do it in 12 hours to Lethbridge. That's where the majority of our feedlots go.
And why is that?
Because of your new ruling that's coming in. And so what we'd like to see is some kind of where they give us some kind of a relief, 3 hours on either side or something, because you cannot make it that far with that liner load of cattle.
This is the new e-log regulations, right,
yes.
John?
Yes, this is a new transportation rule that the Liberal government has brought in, these e-logs. It goes along with other transportation rules. So basically what's going to happen is you're going to have livestock haulers across Canada not being able to make it from point A to point B in the time frame they have, and they're going to have to pull over on the side of the highway.
Right.
And we know that's extremely dangerous, not only to the driver, but the animals that they are carrying. So this is an animal health issue.
Yeah.
So we are really pushing the Liberal government to have some sort of an exemption for agriculture, a 3-hour window of grace period on the time of that haul,
Yep.
so they can ensure that they get those animals safely to the feedlot or to the auction mart. And this will be a big concern in the summer when we have really hot days where you're going to have to pull over, and these animals are going to be overheating. They need that breeze, they need that cool air, and they are safer and healthier on the truck than they are being taken off and on multiple times if they have to stop at the side of the highway.
Exactly. Connie, what else did we hear up there from the cattle producers, and even what else did we hear that are issues?
Well, one of the things that we want to make sure of that we get to keep is that $350,000 of our federal money when we apply for cash advance or interest relief.
Right. It's critical to have.
That's critical for us, for our cattle people.
Yeah, to have the finances, the flexibility, so they can pull money out of their herds and keep using that money to keep feeding their families and keep the whole thing going.
And get the animals growing larger, so when they do sell them, they get that bit extra profit. Profit comes to them instead of being spread to somewhere else.
Right. And lastly, just John, maybe just speak to your private members bill. We were in the House. You spoke about it on Monday, about really some good legislation around food security and protecting herds. Maybe just talk about that.
Yeah, as we've seen throughout Alberta, BC with avian flu, but foot and mouth for the livestock industry is a real concern. So I have Private Members Bill C-275, which will protect biosecurity on farms. Yeah. And really what that is doing is discouraging protesters from coming on private property, putting the biosecurity of those operations at risk. They could unknowingly be bringing viruses from one farm or one area to another farm, and that could be easily spreading avian flu, foot and mouth disease, African swine fever. This is very difficult not only for the finances of farm, but the mental health of those farmers that are having to deal with that. But it definitely puts our food security at risk, and this is a risk we just cannot take. Right,
and I guess I said lastly, but when we talk about farmers and the stress that they're under right now, I think the biggest thing that we haven't even mentioned is the carbon tax. And we heard how much it's impacting, whether it's issues around fertilizer, but the cost to farmers. John, you had a figure that by 2030, how much extra farmers will have to pay as individual farmers, and what was that amount?
Yeah, so the Canadian Food Price Index last fall said when the Liberals triple the carbon tax by 2030, an average 5,000-acre farm will be paying $150,000 a year in carbon taxes alone. There's not a single farmer that I know that has that kind of margin, or that money under their mattress that they can put to a carbon tax. And that will go throughout the supply chain. That is going to be input costs, moving animals, but also Canadians are going to be paying the price at the grocery store shelves. There's no question about it.
Right. And meanwhile, farmers don't get credit for all the carbon they do sequester on a regular basis. So farmers are under mounting pressures from this government. We are in there with our leader, Pierre Polyev, who really wants to support our farmers and agriculture community and do the right thing. Getting rid of the carbon tax is top on our list, but we support farmers. And thanks again for coming up to the Peace, John. We're going to go talk to some grain producers this afternoon, but thanks for being in the South Peace today, John.
It's my pleasure, Connie. Thank you very much for the tour of your operation here. Incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again, Bob.
Thank you, Connie.